Reuse, reduce, recycle. When you throw something away, do you think about where it'll end up? Maybe you're one of the more earth-friendly people and you try to recycle when you can. Do you know what kind of an impact it actually makes though? Now, according to National Geographic, in 2010 there was 8 million tons of plastic that were added to the ocean globally. That's 16 billion pounds. Not only that, but plastic is actually becoming a part of the water. There are plastic particles being found in the deep sea and plastic particles being found in the Arctic ice. Not only that, but it's also disrupting marine wildlife. And as bad as this number is, it actually only accounts for a small fraction of the plastic and other waste that is being produced, which often ends in the landfills, the overloaded waste fills. Now this is an issue. If you've ever been to any kind of event or party, then you have seen how much waste can be produced in a short amount of time. Some of these events will often include several means of separation, like recycling versus waste, or paper versus plastic. I've worked at many athletic events over the past few years, and have personally seen the dysfunction of the recycling program. First, I witnessed many people put every type of item in each of the separating containers. Second, often enough, all of it goes in the same place, one huge garbage dump. While there is still need to reduce resources wasted, the recycling program is a poor and misunderstood solution that often puts one at peace of mind when one shouldn't be. And I would put forth that a switch of focus to reduce and reuse goods would be much more valuable to the effort of earth conservation. There are many reasons why we should switch our focus to reusing and reducing rather than recycling. Recycling programs are inconsistent nationwide and confusing. There are problems with sorting, demand is barely dented by recycling, and recycling itself often produces its own large eco-footprint, diminishing its actual usefulness. Using long-term usable items such as glass or stainless steel and other containers, bringing your own grocery bags, as well as avoiding consumer goods that use an excessive amount of waste material, all bring your eco-footprint down. It stops as much waste from being produced. This also changes the economy as you vote with the dollar towards more eco-friendly solutions, and companies are forced to change. It's important to fully understand the weaknesses of the recycling program. The first thing is the inconsistency in recycling. Recycling is not consistent. On the consumer end, there are many rules to follow already, which can include what to recycle, such as paper, plastic, aluminum, etc. And following that, it can even be broken down further, where certain programs will only allow certain plastics to be recycled and not others. Did you know that there are 7 different types of plastic, and only certain recycling programs take certain types of plastic? Do you know which plastics can go in your recycling bin? Now, often these rules also include how to separate and when to collect, such as whether or not cardboard needs to be bundled up and can be put into the recycling bin. And worst off, these rules not only change and vary greatly from state to state, but can change from city to city. The confusing structure leads many to be confused about what to actually recycle, and sorting becomes a disaster, and recyclable goods end up in the landfill. Now, the actual operation practices of each of these programs vary from city to city. There are good programs that actually impact the waste. Seattle, for example, I know has a very good program. Now, these programs are few and far between, as there is no standard. Some of these programs use inmates to separate. How much do you think they care about whether or not something gets recycled properly? Now, the demand cannot be met. Despite huge pushes in recycling barely makes a dent in the demand for these raw materials. Aluminum is one of the more favorable, which boost favorable results for both reusing and demand. However, some of it still ends up in the landfill. Recycling still creates an eco-footprint. While proving to be more efficient than producing completely new material, recycling still creates an eco footprint. Aluminum is one of the better raw materials to recycle, as it uses 95% less energy to recycle than it would to create completely new aluminum pound for pound. This is a more obvious choice for recycling. However, plastic uses 70% less energy to recycle than to create new plastic, and paper uses 40% less energy to recycle than new plastic. Better than nothing, but it'd still be better to decrease the total amount of waste used. Not only that, but this was only accounting for the materials that are actually in the recycling program. This doesn't account for everything that's in the waste that's already in the landfills. While doing something is better than nothing, many use recycling as a psychological crutch, and they perceive themselves in a much less wasteful society. It keeps attention away from the increasing problem that is our waste management. And simply put, it's like cleaning one room in a large house and calling it good, except the dirt keeps piling up in the 3 other rooms, and we're not noticing. All of the aforementioned portrays an accurate portrayal of the flaws of the recycling program. Now, while recycling is better than nothing, reducing and recycling is what we need to focus and spend money on. Reusing reduces waste. The more the reuse something has, the better impact it has on the level of waste being produced. According to the website Ban the Bottle RS, Americans used over 50 billion plastic bottles and only recycled 23% of that. Obviously, if we were to switch this to stainless steel water bottles or glass water bottles, this would obviously affect the impact of the waste that plastic bottles alone produce. According to the website Facts About the Plastic Bag Pandemic Share, over 1 trillion plastic bags are being used every year. This can be shorted by bringing your own grocery bags or reusing the plastic ones that you already have. Many cities often encourage this by already putting a tax on it. So a 10-cent tax on each bag that's being used. These are just easy ways to reuse and reduce that everyone can use. There is much more waste than this, but it's a good place to start. Other easy ways include non-packaged goods, glass containers, higher quality clothes while donating old ones, buying higher quality clothes while donating old ones. Now, the more you reduce what you use, the more you reduce waste. Now, we need to stop using products with large amounts of packaging. I'm talking about toys, foods, cardboard, plastic that's being used to package all of these things. You buy fresher foods. You buy fruits, vegetables, things that aren't packaged. Buy out of bins, wholesale. Using products longer. Finding home for things that you are done with. Instead of upgrading and getting rid of the old TV, consider using it longer, or finding a home for it. Donation services vary, but oftentimes these items are mistreated and sometimes broken before even reaching the floor, and then going into the waste. Now, one of the main concerns that the society is facing now is the throwaway clothes. And I'm talking about the $7 dress at Target or the $5 shirt at Walmart. We're in a society that is buying throwaway clothes that are cheap and they'll only be worn a few times and then thrown away. Consider buying higher quality items, including your clothing, that will last longer and you'll use more. Now, the last useful effect that reducing and reusing will have is it will change the economy. As we reuse and reduce, we are voting with the dollar. And as we purchase goods, we tell companies where the demand is. We buy cheap packaged goods, they produce more cheap packaged goods. The more waste it's being produced. If we buy fresh foods and products with less waste attached, they switch to provide these products. As we vote with the dollar, better and cheaper ways are developed to provide cleaner products with less waste. Now, while recycling is not a great evil and it does contribute in reducing the global eco footprint, it's not a perfect solution and is flawed in several ways. Reducing and reusing is the best way to help with earth conservation. Recycling should not be abandoned, and one should find out how to best recycle their waste. But the only way to significantly impact how much waste we are producing is to reduce and reuse, and to raise more awareness so that as a society, we are helping the earth together. You don't have to change everything at once, but by small things, such as a switch to reusable water bottles and grocery bags, we can make changes towards minimal waste. Thank you.